Okay. Let's do this then. So today's talk is the day 2. So yesterday I talked about a healthier home and body care products, what we can do to kind of improve our overall living environment. And so if you didn't already, catch the replay on that, either in Oil Help or Guided Health and Healing, or Dr. Alex also has it in hers. So I am Dr. Elena McLaughlin, and being presenting today. Kelly is also on, so she may jump on at times as well to share information. And Cheryl is on the backside of, I think, an Oil Help. So let's jump in. For those of you who are able to see the screens through Oil Help, the first screen up here is the Doterra Difference. So I always like to start here because the philosophy behind Doterra really is making a difference between everybody who's involved. So the farmers, the people who are working directly with the farmers, and then people who are sharing oils, and then people who are using oils. So their philosophy is one drop, one person, one community. And they really live this by their certified, pure, tested grade certification, the source to you, where we know exactly where every bottle, where every oil is coming from. And we can trace it through the batch number on our bottles. Through co-impact sourcing, where they are giving back to the communities that are the farmers that are growing by building hospitals, by helping with water sourcing, with schools, whatever they're needing in those communities. And then also Healing Hands, which also funds projects going on within those communities to improve. Healing Hands can also has several other amazing organizations that support just kind of overall well-being throughout kind of across the planet. And then finally, Doterra Healthcare, where they have a Doterra clinic, and also working within universities to do research to completely make sure these oils are safe, effective. And we also, with that one, is really exciting with the research team and the scientists behind the Doterra scenes, is having the first medicinal grade oil on the market. So that is the Lavender Essential Oil, and they've basically, to earn that, they've tested the oil over 4 years and have it within a very specific percentage of the exact components that should be in it to be able to say that it is medicinal grade lavender. So the next one that you'll see on here is Pursue What's Pure. So that is definitely the behind the scenes Doterra mission to make sure that we have the most pure oils that aren't going to be adulterated in any way. They don't have other oils or other things mixed in. They are pure, and we know exactly what we're putting in, so we know how to use them, and we can ensure that they're being used safely and effectively. The next slide just shows, it's called Empowering Our Partners. So showing some of the behind the scenes footage of how they're actually training and working with farmers, and then those collecting to do the weighing and all of those sorts of, kind of the background work on getting oils to us. And again, empowering the farmers as well. So Doterra is different because they don't just go and work through a middleman and purchase the cheapest oils that they can find. They actually go in and they do research in the areas where the herb or the tree or wherever it's sourced from, where it grows the best in the world. And they go into those communities and see what farmers are already growing. And then from there, they take it and work with them. So maybe there's a crop that they can enhance and start growing more. They work with the farmers to show, educate and how to process the best way to harvest, because most of the time the farmers already know most of the information. So they have to optimize and grow the crops to then support the farmers, their families, the communities, and so forth. So the next slide that you'll see up here, and I will post this one as well. So this is a couple of extras that I put in beyond oils. What can we do to help with our breathing? And then as I'm going through too, on either side, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in, type it in the comment box, or share if you're comfortable doing so. So the first one on here is this is kind of a basic one, but we often don't think of it. If you have respiratory concerns, which is why a lot of people might be on here, and even in general, just our air quality is getting worse and worse over time, depending where you live. But cleaning your air vents regularly is really important. So going into your furnace, going into anywhere you've got air vents coming out in your house, making sure that those are clean so that you're not getting a contamination as soon as you're breathing in. So this is dust, mold, microbes that live within dust and mold. that we might be breathing, causing those symptoms that we haven't even thought about, and that might take care of everything that you're experiencing. And I've had these situations, especially people living in houses that are carpeted. There could have been a water leak in the past, or maybe just if you're in a high humid area, or even just with heating and things, it can hold that moisture and trap it and create mold that we don't see, but it might be creating this reaction within the body that is not helping our health at all. Some people get this significantly, and they'll actually have like a mold toxicity. So there is an extreme, and I highly recommend to, if you have any suspicion, especially laundry room, bathroom, and carpeted areas, is test your home for mold. There are several companies out there that will send you a kit you can test and see if that's something you're dealing with. The next part of it is, if you're having breathing difficulties, or maybe a little one, is consider purchasing an air purifier. There's a huge range of air purifiers, but especially you want them in your bedroom for sleeping at night. And then the main area in your house where you work during the day, or you're at during the day, maybe that's work. And they can be fairly simple. I like the HEPA filters, and especially the ones that you can clean yourself, make it more affordable. Some of them can get very spendy, but there are definitely affordable options, like the $150, $200 range. I think mine is a Honeywell, and it's super easy to clean the filters, and they can tell a difference when they start getting kind of bogged down. And it's amazing what comes out of those air filters. You're like, oh my goodness. Cool. So the other part of that is that there might be some things in the air that you're consciously putting in there. So maybe it's something you want your house to smell better. And this one, the main story I think of for this is a nurse who shared the story of her daughter, who at a young age started having several respiratory symptoms, just chronically sick, and found out that it ended up being a lot of the products she was using to make her house smell good. So the things she was spraying and the candles she was using and the plugins. They all smell good, but they interact with our body, and our bodies don't know what those things are. They're chemicals, they're synthetics, and they are not generally good for our health. So there are other ways that we'll talk about that you can change or switch over, switch and ditch is kind of what they say. But that story sticks in my mind because after she switched everything over to using essential oils and diffusers, her daughter's symptoms, which she'd been battling with for almost 10 years, gone. So all those doctor visits, all the medications, she was able to give it all up for an essential oil diffuser. So there are some powerful stories. So the other side of respiratory on this next bullet point in the list, for those of you who can see it, is breathing exercises. So this is one where we have respiratory symptoms, and it may be related to anxiousness or when we're not feeling well. Most people during the day, if you ask them and you make them consciously breathe, they're like, oh, I notice during the day now that I'm often not breathing. So we get so caught up in what we're doing, whether it's work or stressful situations, where people will have like a very shallow breath pattern where you're not fully opening up your lungs. And that's essential because that's how we're oxygenating and bringing in this filtration pattern. So one that I like to do if you are feeling anxious or you're just needing a reset, so many people live in this fight or flight state of, it's called sympathetic dominance. We want to shift over to parasympathetic dominance, which is rest and digest. Our digestion works better, our blood pressure comes down, our breathing pattern comes down. And I've seen this in clinic before too, is if you stop, you have somebody with a high blood pressure, high heart rate, you start doing this 4, 7, 8 breathing pattern for 2 to 3 cycles, and those numbers come down. White coat hypertension is one that you may have heard of. I've seen this work before. You redo the blood pressure, and they're like, oh, okay, like I don't have to be in threat mode anymore. So what you do, you breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 7, and it's not like a strong hold, but you just kind of pause at the top of your breath, and then you're gonna breathe out for 8 seconds. So notice that exhalation is longer than the inhalation or the hold, and it might not feel comfortable at first, but you will get used to it. And the longer breath out, it supports this mechanism called the vagus nerve, which is our main parasympathetic nerve in our body. And a lot of you have probably heard of vagus nerve stimulation now because it's becoming this big thing that really makes a difference in how our body responds to our environment, to our, our perceived stress situations. So that's an exercise you can do at the stoplight, you can do it at work, you can do it anywhere. Nobody has to know that you're doing anything, but you can make a huge difference in the physiology and especially, you know, the mind, the mental, emotional well-being. The next tip I'll say is every day trying to get outside in the fresh air or air that is clean, that you're breathing among trees and plants if possible. So if you're up here in Alaska, that can get tricky at times. But this can make a huge difference because especially inside, the air quality in our homes, and this has been studied and documented, most of the time the air quality in the home is worse than the air quality outside. So go outside. Like, we are meant to be, you know, outside beings, and let's say, and we spend so much more time inside. I've seen quotes that we spend 85% of our time indoors nowadays when we should be the opposite, 85% outside. So make a conscious effort to see the difference. You're not only breathing air, but you're also grounding. So that can also bring that nervous system into balance, which directly supports the lungs. The next part, let me see it, move this over. Oh yes, the next one is a specific breathing technique that I put down. So if any of you have, you know, diagnosed condition of the lungs, where maybe it's chronic, where you have difficulties with cold, or maybe it's induced by exercise or things like that, or you have these very difficult challenge breathing, there's a form called Buteyko Breathing, and I'll put, it'll be in the notes, I'll put this slide into the notes. And there's different YouTube videos on how to do this. There's also books, and this Buteyko breathing pattern is specific for calming. There's also, you know, yogic breathing, and you'll see in various forms, Kundalini. All of these are working on really focusing on this connection with the lungs and how we're rejuvenating our body. And I really like those concepts because breath is life. You know, what do we define life by? When the last breath is taking, that is the division, the clear black and white between life and death. And yet during the day, so many of us are not fully breathing. So we're kind of in that gray zone of like, how are we truly living? So it's always good to reconnect with that philosophy, with that idea of, okay, don't forget to stop and breathe. Other ways that we can support this is if you're having challenges with breathing, maybe it's congestion, chronic congestion within the nasal cavities, or maybe every time you get sick, you feel it in the lungs first. One step that I go to if it's kind of a chronic pattern is looking at digestion and nutrition. So especially food sensitivities such as dairy can be one that you have dairy and you always have like this chronic postnasal drip or chronic congestion. And so you take out that food and a lot of times it'll go away. But sometimes there's also just the digestion isn't optimized with our enzyme levels and our probiotics or our gut microbiome. So there's ways that using probiotics can make a big shift too if you're already watching food sensitivities. And then also doing like steam inhalation, either using your diffuser, or a lot of times I'll just have patients, if they don't have one, you get a pot of water and just fill it, you know, like 1/4 of an inch, bring it to a boil, and then you take that off the stove, put a couple of drops of something like, this is a good time if any of you have like peppermint or breathe, you can grab, I have eucalyptus here, which is another fantastic one, especially if there's a microbial component to like your respiratory thing. But all you do, if you have your oils, put a drop on here. So the example I'm describing, you put it into the pot of water, put a towel over your head and breathe it. But if even that is too much for you in the moment, put a drop in your hand, rub your hands together, and then you're just gonna cup it over your nose and breathe. You can even do that 4, 7, 8 cycles. So I would love to see, as you watch the replay, or if any of you are doing this right now, let me know how that feels for you. So with these oils like peppermint, breathe, eucalyptus, they generally open up the airway. You can breathe clear, and then oftentimes you'll get a discharge afterwards, which is what we want, right? We want to get rid of all that stuff that your body is like constantly saying, I'm trying to get rid of this stuff. So that is one tip of breathing that, you know, those oils into your diffuser, doing the pot of water, or just putting it in your hand, or even smelling the bottle if you wanted, that works as well. The other one that can help with some of that postnasal drip is doing a couple drops of lemon in a little bit of water each morning. I've noticed a significant difference if you have seasonal times when during the season, or even all year, when you just kind of always have a postnasal drip, that lemon and water can make a huge difference. Some people will also do it with peppermint. I've also heard people doing the peppermint into their tea or coffee each morning. And I'm just like, it just really wakes up the brain. It gives this nice stimulating effect, and also a lot of times creates that discharge. So you can like clear your head for the day. If you have that in the morning too, where you feel like you wake up congested, I would check your bedroom environment and then also start throwing your pillow into the dryer every night and changing out your pillow cover, because it might be a low level of mold or yeah, I would say mold would be the best way, that living, like those little spores that live in your pillow, because you're breathing that moisture into there and they thrive off of damp, moist environments. So another tip that you can try if you have like this chronic waking up with congestion, or checking again your nutrition, what you're eating before you go to bed at night. You might have a sensitivity to something you're eating before bed. Maybe it's ice cream or sugar, because sugar is another huge one with respiratory support and congestion. So the other one, essential oils wise, that I don't have in here, but or put it on the slide, is the Digescent family. So this can be a huge one. And you're thinking Digescent, that sounds like a digestive one. Yes, it is. But it also has oils in it that help with respiration and respiratory support. And then oftentimes if there's, like I said, if there's something going on in the gut, maybe you've got reflux, or maybe you're not digesting well, and you do the Digescent and your digestion starts working better, like your respiratory stuff also clears up. So it's like a 2-for-1, getting to the root cause, which is really what I look for when I'm working with people. So Digescent, you can also, I've had somebody actually share this. They roll the Digescent over their sinus cavities and it helps clear, like every morning or night, that's what they do. And then they go through the day and they don't have to do anything else. They don't have to do their over-the-counter sinus meds anymore, things like that, which is huge for a lot of people. You can also take Digescent internally if it's more of like a reflux or just like settling your digestion. And then they also make gel caps if you really don't tolerate the taste. So I know that is, some people will just like, give me the pill because I don't like the taste of the oil, which is perfectly fine as well. That's why we have it in a roller, gel caps, an oil, and another form where you can actually chew it too after a meal. So these oils I've mentioned, if anybody on here wants to participate, what are 3 ways that we use essential oils? So I've mentioned them in multiple ways. And I'll give you a hint. So here's a roller bottle of Breathe. So this one we're going to be using topically. And you can rub it like on your neck. You can put it on your hands and breathe it, kind of like I just did, but it's pre-diluted for us. The first way I mentioned, I put this in my hand, or I also mentioned it in the water, right? So we're going to breathe it aromatically, also in diffusers where you don't even have to do that. So if your spouse or kids or partner, they don't want to have to do anything, they don't have to, you just put it in there for them and then just have them in their area. And then I mentioned the Digescent can be used internally as well. So that one also is like peppermint's a great one for internal use. So next slide on here. I pulled one slide on that was presented this morning, but I missed the screenshot of the first one. So the next slide on here for our overall respiratory health and well-being, especially if you tend toward chronic use of or chronic conditions with this, maybe it's immune related, is the Lifelong Vitality Pack. This is the supplement line that has our multivitamin and mineral, the superpower antioxidants, and then also it has some liver and kidney support on there as well, and then also the omegas, which are anti-inflammatory, which also play a huge impact if you've got inflammation of the lungs chronically with whatever might be going on. So I put on there the clinically supported benefits of really the oils and the components in there are working on our cellular health, cellular inflammation, cellular energy metabolism, DNA protection, antioxidant defense, immune system support, stress management, cardiovascular health, bone and joint health, brain and cognitive health, and digestive health, and more. And these are documented clinically supported benefits of the Lifelong Vitality Pack by the scientists who are doing all this research in the background at Doterra. Cool. Okay. The first oil that I have on here, that one of the ones that Justin presented on this morning, was Air X. And this one is fantastic. They just came out with this, and this is my daughter's favorite oil. She loves this one. It's really refreshing, and it's also opening and has therapeutic benefit too. So it's like, it smells good, but it also has these other things. So it's Lithia, tangerine, grapefruit, frankincense, and cardamom. And these oils by themselves have different properties too, but generally it's very uplifting. It's kind of like it said, it's the air blend. It's for cleaning and purifying the air. So this one, I believe, was available in Europe before it came over to here, which is fantastic that we finally have it now too. The next one that I have on here is the Tri-Ease gel caps. So some people really don't like doing the oils just by themselves. So this is another one of those easy, like you just take a gel cap and Tri-Ease, because we have lemon, lavender, and peppermint in it. And the peppermint is really going to promote that breathing, kind of opening up the passageways. The lemon is cleansing, but also I mentioned it helps with some of the digestive support. And then lavender is a natural antihistamine, and it's also calming and balancing. So it's working on the nervous system as well as immunity, as well as kind of just bringing everything into balance. So those are fantastic. So the slide that it shows, it says give nature a second chance. So you can tell when you might be needing more of those than other times. The next oil it'll cover is Laurel Leaf. This one is not usually available by itself, but it is available in the Doterra kit. So they have a respiratory wellness kit or program, and it's a 3-month program that I'll get to in just a minute. And this is one of the oils. It supports respiratory and immune health together. It also energetically provides confidence and courage. You can use it topically for cleaning or skin cleansing. Helps with clearing kind of the fog, like the brain fog type of stuff that a lot of people get. Opening the airways, cleanses the air, and it can also be used as a bug repellent, like a lot of the different oils. So, you know, kind of a wide variety, but a lot of them are really supported around like this breathing. And I think a lot of the emotional part of this, Chinese medicine, the lung is about grief. So a lot of these oils speak to that nature of being, of we hold or we really experience a physical condition, but it's actually related to an emotion, and the lung is grief. So you can think about that too, if that might be a factor in kind of completely healing whatever might be going on with the lung space. And oils can help just kind of lift those layers. The next slide on here is kind of one of the big heavy hitters that I've already mentioned is Breathe. So this is a combination of the laurel leaf, peppermint, eucalyptus, melaleuca, which is tea tree, lemon peel, ravensara, cardamom is the last one in there. So it has this very opening, uplifting. This one's fantastic to use in the diffuser at night if you have, and I've heard people too of putting it like on the inside if you have a CPAP, that they just get a little bit of that breathing throughout the night, and it makes a huge difference with how they feel in the morning. This is also a great one for in the shower. So one of the kits, one of the months of the wellness kit, I think it's month 2, has a shower diffuser. So you just put a couple drops of this. So as you're showering in the morning, you also get that nice aroma. If you don't have one, you can just put a couple of drops of this or peppermint on the bottom of the wall of your shower too, and it'll kind of do a little bit of the same thing. So this one, the Breathe, so daily use, maintains feelings of clear airways and easy breathing. You can diffuse it at bedtime, promote restful night's sleep. And then on the wellness side, minimizing the effects of seasonal threats. So again, kind of like the Tri-Ease. And then when you're outdoors, minimize the effects of seasonal change. So this one, as well as the Deep Blue, I have used before workouts. You can go on the back of your neck, and it just helps kind of open up airways and everything. So let me see if that might have been the last one. I thought I had one more. There we go. So this next slide shows the kits. The Respiratory Wellness Kit, it comes in a nice bag the first time, and it comes with the Breathe drops, peppermint beadlets, cardamom, lime, a handheld personal aroma diffuser, so you can put the oil in there and just be able to pull it out of your purse or whatnot, and then of course the Breathe oil. The second month you're going to get eucalyptus, the Breathe Touch, which I showed you, laurel leaf in a 5 ml bottle, the Tri-Ease, and then the shower diffuser. And then the third month, you get the AirX, peppermint, ravensara, On Guard, the Breathe Stick, which is fantastic, especially if you have kids, kind of like the Vicks Vapor Rub, but without all the synthetics in it and the petroleum-based products, and a car clip diffuser. Excuse me. I don't have my water with me either. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. So I gotta tickle on my throat. The next slide I'm gonna kind of skip over, but it is the cleaning products, the new one, and I covered those yesterday, so you can take a peek at that. And then the final slide that I had in the presentation, maybe, is the this ID, the benefit this month is if you have a 200 PB order is you get a free deep blue rub and the Copaiba soft gels. So this is fantastic because if you started with one of your kits and you got like your vitamins or you're doing your general ordering, you can stock up and get those two fabulous products, which are very much kind of geared around kind of movement health and but also nervous system as well. So that is a fantastic kind of bonus for the month of what they have going on. That's a 200 PB order or more, but they're kind of day two or daily go-tos. So I added that in just because Justin had mentioned it this morning, but let me get out of the slideshow on this end, stop sharing over here online. And I want to see if it had any comments over here as well. It looks good. Any comments? Do I have any comments on here either? Any questions, any feedback? So today really is kind of overall geared of how we react to things, how we can thrive through our lung space, because they can be a huge limiting factor. And if you have any restrictions, it can make a huge impact on your quality of life, because then your energy goes down. You're usually have more discomfort going throughout your body. You're not thinking as clearly, maybe memory is affected. So respiratory is really the foundation of a lot of different health concerns, and I tie it in with digestion too, as I mentioned, but they really go hand in hand together. So that is, I think, all that I had. Let me think for just a second or see if there's any comments on here. But if that is all for today, I will end there, and we will be back on for tomorrow is going to be sleep. So another huge one that a lot of people are affected by. And I'm not seeing any comments right now, so hopefully I'll see your comments afterwards. If you have questions or if you need any additional information, please reach out and catch Justin's webinar if you didn't already. It's Justin's with an S webinars.com, and the links are also in Oil Health, Guided Health and Healing, and then Dr. Alex's group too. So with that, I will sign off for now then, and we will see you tomorrow.